Hi, my people, and welcome to the Decoder Show, October 8th, 2025. We're going to talk about a few things. The government shutdown, the James Comey arraignment. We're going to also talk about this new, how can we say, concept that is floating out there that Trump is the pedophile because of the Epstein files. Now the Epstein files are important to the left, and much, much more today in today's show and today's Decoder Show. And again, like I said before, if you don't know who the hell I am, I've been doing a Spanish podcast for about 10 years already, since 2015, explaining a lot of stuff from the Obamagate, from so many political things. So if you don't know who I am, that's who I am. And anyway, you can look for me. I used to do a show in Spanish called La Verdad es la Verdad. In other words, the truth is the truth. And I used to do very well on that. I used to do it on Facebook, YouTube, and I was, completely banned from from YouTube at one point and all that stuff. So yeah, that's who I am, and that's, where we come from. Anyway, it says that I am live currently in Facebook and Rumble. Supposedly in X and also in Orbis.net. Orbis.net is like a Facebook thing. If you're not familiar with them, it's very, very interesting. You go over there and you check it out. Orbis.net. They're doing a really good job, and they're trying to keep, a good social media out there with, free speech social media. That is very important. We were trying to finish up some things with the cameras and stuff like that, and we finally got it there. So here we are, and I hope that you guys could hear me okay. I'm just going to do a quick test, if you guys allow me to, so I could know that everything is fine and it's handy dandy in the streaming. So let me go check that, and it looks like I am. Yes, audio is working fine on Facebook, so I'm guessing that if it's working on Facebook, it's working everywhere else. So it's working in the studio and Rumble, is working everywhere. So let's get started with the conversations today and decoding some of this information. I'm going to start with this big old deal that is happening with the government shutdown, and I want to talk in more details about the ACA and what is behind this, because a lot of people are talking about the subsidies, who's going to get affected. You got people like in CNN trying to say, well, a lot of people are going to get affected by this because I gotta fix this. Oops, I made a mistake. Oops. I changed my camera, so that's one of the things that I what's going on? So I got the headshot only, and why you're not coming here? Let me see. No, and headshot only. Why are you not coming? If I do this, okay, whatever. Let's do it like this. So anyway, so CNN is talking about the information behind the ACA, the subsidies, and the fear behind all that. So I want to put a short video of CNN talking about this, but at the same time, I want you to know, it says that we got 13 people viewing the stream right now. So I appreciate all you guys being here. I appreciate your comments and all that. All your comments may not be coming through the studio yet, because I know that probably there's a lot of things that has to be fixed behind the scenes. But anyway, I appreciate you guys being here, and thank you so much. Remember to comment and do everything you can to share the video with other people. Okay, so let's put this video very quickly about the subsidies and the fear that CNN is trying to put behind what is going to happen to people and American families, etc., if the subsidies are taken away. So let's go and see this first, and then we go from there.
Imagine an older couple out there who's making $85,000 a year. That's not billionaires or anything like that, but that's a higher earner in this case. Here's their current premium, $7,225 per year. That's 8.5% of their income. That's sort of the top end under the current rules. Under the change, if it expires, that will jump to $25,000 per year. That's almost a 30% increase. That's almost 30% of their income, not an income, 30% of their income for the year. That's a tough thing if you're making $85,000 a year.
Okay, so whoa. Let's pause it there for a second. And we need to understand clearly what the ACA did, or what we know in the right as Obamacare. And we need to make sure that we understand what they're talking about here, right? So Obamacare, what it did, to be honest, is to take the cost of healthcare, and instead of having to be paid by the person that is using the insurance, is subsidized by American taxpayer money. So that means, very simple, is if you cannot afford the plan, if for any reason you don't use an insurance, or let's say for any reason you get insurance through your work, well, the rest of the country that is using ACA, you paying for the difference between what that share cost is by that person. In this case, let's say this example that CNN is using, that difference between the $7,000 and the $25,000 is being paid, subsidized with our tax money from those people that are not using that insurance, for the people that are not, for any way, shape, or form having to pay for that. In other words, they are trying to socialize our healthcare system. And when they did that, what that causes is a big, huge issue. And I'm going to tell you what. I know personally medics and nurses and people that are extremely affected by this, because now companies don't want to provide the services because they don't want to compete in a system that they know is going to be socialized. In other words, controlled by the government. When you build a company, you build a company to make money, no matter who you are, right? It doesn't matter if you are, in the right, one side or another. At the end of the day, what that means is that you want the make money. That's it. No matter which business you build, is to make money. Okay, and that includes the medical field. Well, we do need to find a way to maybe fix the prices, etc. Maybe, yes, but the ACA in any way, shape, or form is fixing prices. It's only subsidizing the difference of those prices to our tax money, to the money of the person that is not using that insurance. And that's what the Republicans are trying to fix. They're saying, hey, we should not be using the money to subsidize this insurance, especially if this insurance is being abused by people that should not be using that insurance, or people that do not deserve for the government to be providing a specific healthcare like Medicaid, etc., when they're not, should not be getting that benefit. It's that simple. So, but the Democrats don't want to explain this, or any people don't, most of the people don't explain this in this detail. It's that simple. The subsidies is tax money from you and me, whoever don't use the medical insurance, and that tax money is being used to subsidize for those people that are using the ACA, and the difference between what they should be coming out of their pocket for their premiums, right? For what is called the deductible, right? It's being subsidized with the money from the people. It's that simple. So that's what the ACA did. That's why it damaged the medical system, because the medical system, these companies don't want the government to be the one dictating the prices. The government to be the one telling them how to do their job, or what to charge, or et cetera, et cetera. And that is a big dilemma. So when they talked about closing the government and the subsidies, you have to understand exactly what is happening here. And that is that the Democrats are trying to socialize more and more our system, including in this scenario, the medical system, by subsidizing the deductibles using taxpayer money. And the Republicans don't want that to happen. It's that simple. This is not more complicated than that. They're trying to tell you, well, this family's going to be affected, this family's going to be affected, this other family's going to be affected, because if they paying today this amount, and they will start paying this amount if the subsidy goes away. Yes, because that subsidy is our tax money. It's money that is being used and abused by people that should not be having the medical benefits in this scenario. So if you're making $85,000, if you're making $100,000, you're making $200,000, why you need a subsidy from the government to support your medical needs when you are making enough money to deal with that? That's the problem here. And that's the difference between the two positions, right? You got a position of a side, of political side, that is wanting to subsidize that difference in money with taxpayer money, and then you got the side that don't want to do it. And that's the battle that they're having right now. Well, they're using that to say, well, American families are going to be affected by this. American families are going to do this. The reality is that it's very simple. Either we want to subsidize with American taxpayer money the benefit of those people, or we don't. It's that simple. And I think when we put someone in power and we tell them that we want our numbers to be crunched, our numbers to be fixed, and that's one of the reasons why people voted for Trump. Well, you know what? That's one of the things that has to be done. We may not like what's going to bring behind that. When you do cuts in your house and you got to cut this and you got to cut that and you got to cut that and cut the other thing, you have to do it for some reasons, right? You got to do it because maybe you're spending too much money, or maybe there's less money coming in. So that's the way you got to run even the government. The government has to a point where we're spending money that we don't have. Buying bonds from this place, buying bonds from the other place, that's not working. So we need to make changes, and those changes sometimes are not going to be taken by certain groups lightly. They might say, hey, I don't like those changes. And yeah, sure, we may not like those changes. We may like the subscription that we had. We may like to have the Netflix, or whoever pays for Prime, or whatever it is that you pay at your home. But sometimes you got to make those changes that are drastic changes to fix our economy. And that is one of the things that is being done here. Okay? So when they're talking about closing the government, is based on that decision. So the Democrats want at this point 1.5 trillion with a T more money to continue subsidizing the thank you, baby, the healthcare of people in this country with taxpayer money. That's simple. That's what's happening. That's the argument. There's nothing else underneath this. That's what is under the cover. And whenever someone asks you what's happening with this, now you have the information that you need. Now it is decoded, and you can know how to have a conversation with people about what's happening in our government. So the next thing I want to discuss today, I believe James Comey was had his arraignment today in court, and I haven't seen a lot of updates about that. But there's a video that I want to put because I think on my last show, I cannot remember exactly which day it was, the day that I did my last show. We discussed something very interesting, right? We talk about the fact that they saying that it was an abuse of power when Trump did this to Comey, and I, this accusation that is being done against Comey, etc., right? And I told you something very interesting. I said to you something that I think is critical, that this is not an abuse of power. This was a cleanup. I think my last show, I can't remember which day it was that I discussed this with you guys, but I clearly told you this is nothing of abuse of power. This is just a cleanup of something that was happening. It's very interesting because, like yesterday, and this is after my show, there was a hearings on the I think it was the Senate. If I'm not, I want to say Senate, but I'm not sure it was the Senate of the House of Representatives, and where they were interviewing on I forgot her name for a second. Pat Bundy. Pat Bundy, that's the AG, right? And it's very interesting because I want you to hear this video of what this, I think it's a senator, was saying about what's happening with James Comey. But I'm going to let him say it because it's important. And then you and I are going to discuss this. So let's go ahead.
Voice.
I have to say, I'm struck by the degree of the cognitive dissonance that I hear on the other side. It really is. I mean, I'm used to sort of the political debates and arguing in court and all those sorts of things. But to hear the other side of the dais talk about weaponization is truly shocking, given what we know now. And I thought what I might...
So it's very critical that we understand what's happening. And I'm going to be talking about this video while I'm playing it because it is important that we decode what he's saying, right? He's saying that it's very shocking, right, to hear, right, the left side of the country talking about abuse of power when what we know now. It's not what we know now. It's what we being informed, knowing, and what we have been saying for years, right? Since what happened with Hillary Clinton not being accused, who was behind that? James Comey. After that, the second path of the emails was who was behind that? James Comey. Then when all the investigation and this spy that was against Trump and all his people, who was behind that? What Department of Justice? Who did all that? James Comey and the Department of Justice. So this is things that have been happening forever. It's not something that is new that we know now. I would disagree with Mr. Schmidt at this point because this is not something that we know today. This is something that we know forever. That we've been talking about it, that I've been talking about it in my show, that Don Bongino has talked about it, that Patel was talking about it. I could mention the whole gamma of people, and we talk about this briefly in our previous show about everything that was being done with, the weaponization of the FISA court and all that. So Mr. Schmidt right now is saying, no, it's we cannot, understand what the left is saying today because of what we know today. It's not what we know today. It's that what we know that this has been happening forever. It's not something new. It's something that has been happening since I don't know how long. So that's something that I wanted to decode out of this part of the video because that's not true. It's not something that we know today. It's something that we've been knowing forever.
I'm used to sort of the political debates and arguing in court and all those sorts of things. But to hear the other side of the dais talk about weaponization is truly shocking, given what we know now. And I thought what I might do is just tell a story. And these are 100% facts.
So this part is important, right? Because what he's saying is he's going to say a story, but the story is based on facts and things that we know today. Things that we had probably questions about, things that some of them we may have some doubt or not. Like we may be thinking, oh, maybe this happened, maybe they didn't. But today, everything that he's going to discuss in this little story, and I'm going to even add things to this story because it's important, right, that we understand what this story is all about, right? Because when they accuse James Comey of what they're accusing him of, is based on a lot of these things. It's not because we want to take revenge. It's like I said before, this is not about revenge. This is not about weaponization of the government. This is about a cleanup. And you have to understand, the reason I bring this video is because this is exactly what I said in my show last week. So let's continue listening to Mr. Schmidt.
Hillary Clinton, concerned about her email scandal, works with a Soros organization to cook up this Russiagate nonsense. They feed it to the intelligence agencies. And they spy, under Barack Obama's presidency, they spy on the political opponent, the Republican, running against Hillary Clinton. He gets elected. They continue the operation. And they launder this intelligence into stuff that was meant to, by the FBI and the CIA, to sideline a presidency of a duly elected president of the...
So not only they created this false information, they used this false information to try to do what? To sideline a duly elected president of the United States in 2016. They created lies. They used those lies to weaponize the government in 2015, 2016, and continue doing this throughout his presidency.
United States of America, to sideline him. And that continued. You heard even some people on this committee further that nonsense for 4 years.
Even people in this committee furthered that nonsense for 4 years and more. O sea, there's people that still repeating. There's still people out there that still think that Trump is an asset of Russia. Believe it or not, you could still talk to people today and they still tell you, no, Trump is an asset of Russia. They still believe that because that's what was like put day in, day out into the minds of so many people. And then they say that we are the cult. Then they say that, hey, you guys are a cult. You guys believed everything. Seriously? When they put all these shadows in front of you for years, and now we know and confirm that we even know before, but we confirm now that they were all lies. They were all fabricated to try to sideline a duly elected president of the United States. And you saying that we're taking vengeance against the people that did this? No, it's a cleanup. Let's continue.
Presidency of a duly elected president of the United States of America, to sideline him. And that continued. You heard even some people on this committee further that nonsense for 4 years. And then the FBI is involved with pre-bunking the Hunter Biden laptop story because they didn't want him to get elected again. So they pre-bunked the Hunter Biden laptop story. The American people should have been allowed to make their own judgments from that. They weren't.
So now, not only they did this, right, but he missed so many steps between this ordeal of creating the document. We're talking about the FISA abuse. We're talking about investigations of people around Trump that was accused. We're talking about raids that were done under this perceived notion that Trump was supposedly an asset of Russia. We're talking about Carter Page. We're talking about so many details behind the scenes. The CIA was used. It was completely abused. Completely abused. They use and weaponize our system to go against a duly elected president, but we are the ones taking revenge. That's their position.
Elected again. So they pre-bunked the Hunter Biden laptops.
On top of that, they do the Hunter laptop situation. They use the FBI, again, a government agency, to tell social media companies, no. This is Russia disinformation. Don't even publish this. This laptop was hacked and all these different lies. To what? To interfere in the decision of the American people once again to make the right decision on the ballot box. They did that, not us. They then go and start censoring people on all the social media platforms, admitted by Facebook and using admitted by YouTube and so many other companies. That's why companies like Rumble were born. Why? Because they were abusing the weaponization. They were weaponizing our system to go against anyone that did not match their version of things or the idea of what they wanted to promote with this old woke mentality.
FBI is involved with pre-bunking the Hunter Biden laptop story because they didn't want him to get elected again. So they pre-bunked the Hunter Biden laptop story. The American people should have been allowed to make their own judgments from that. They weren't, because the FBI called it a Russian hack and leak operation. They were meeting with social media companies every month and every week, telling them that the laptop that they knew, that they had verified in November of 2019, they knew was real and knew was his, said it was Russian disinformation. We've heard that before.
So here's a scoop, right? They knew the laptop was his. They had the evidence that the laptop was his. They had that the information in the laptop matched some of the texts from other investigations. They had all that. The FBI. In other words, the top law enforcement office of the United States of America was weaponized to sway an election. And this is not vengeance. This is cleanup. We need to clean up whoever was involved with this situation, period. It's not that difficult to understand what happened and things that are factual that we could prove today. So going and cleaning these people and having to deal and have dealt with this kind of individual that participated in this behavior has to be dealt with. It has to. We cannot let this lingering, oh, this is in the past. No, bullshit. Fuck F you. Because this is not in the past. This happened in our country. It's not in a place that this should not be happening.
And then, after Joe Biden comes in, 3 days in, they start a censorship campaign against the country, anybody who's a conservative. And now we also know that the FBI was weaponized in this Arctic Frost investigation.
Arctic Frost investigation, that's the latest one that we know this week, right? So Arctic Frost, it was what this James guy was doing in his investigation. He actually investigated Senate after January 6th. Senate is out of this.
That tapped the phones of sitting U.S. senators, and also
of sitting U.S. senators. So they'll use the FBI again, weaponizing the FBI to tap the phone of senators that are sitting on the Senate at that point, not ex-senators, no, current senators, using the FBI to tap on their phones, to check their logs or who they were talking to or any of this weird Why? So there were all these people that were in the FBI, I don't care who they are, that were part of all this weaponization has to pay for it. We have to clean this up. We've been talking about this for years. A lot of people has been talking about this. This is nothing new. This is not new information. Myself in Spanish, Don Bongino, so many people has been talking about this for years. 4 years. Charlie Kirk, rest in peace, and so many other people. We were having this conversation for years. And now that an action is being taken to one of the individuals that was involved in this thing, they claiming now that this is revenge. This is revenge from Trump, from the people that had the what they say, they had the guts to confront him or whatever it is that I cannot even fathom all the excuses they want to portray now to try to say that this is not something that needs to be done. We need to do this cleanup. Let's continue.
The Republican Attorneys General Association, so let's pull in 2 more U.S. senators, Ashley Moody and myself, who were on the executive committee at that time. Charlie Kirk, political organizations they didn't agree with. This is not in the Soviet Union in the 1980s. This is in the United States of America in the last few years.
That's the important thing. You see, that's what I just said. This is the kind of thing we'll have in Germany, in the Soviet Union, in China maybe, in North Korea, not here in America. And this was happening here in America. They were censoring us, using the power of the legal system, of the government to do it. But we are the ones taking revenge and using the power now. When they've been doing it for the last 10 years. They've been doing this for the last almost 10 years. This is the first time we started to do something to do some cleanup on the aisles of the people that did this abuse. But no, it's revenge.
And then, when they thought President Trump was on the run and there's no way people would elect him, and then he announces he's running for president, 3 days later, Jack Smith's appointed.
Oh, Jack Smith, that's the guy. Jack Smith, that's the guy that is the phone tapping for the senators.
To get Trump. Fannie Willis brings charges against President Trump, and the assistant prosecutor meets with the White House counsel's office. Why would that happen? Then you have Alvin Bragg bring his charges. The number 3 person at DOJ goes to work for him to get Trump. All in the United States of America. Mm-hmm. This continued. And Senator Hawley asked the question, wrote it down, what is happening in this country? And I hope that MSNBC is still broadcasting this, because I'm sure their viewership hasn't heard this story.
And that's the worst part. And this is what I was saying, that most people still think that Trump was an ally of Russia. Most people still think of all these lies. Most people don't even know that the government under Biden did the censoring and had the FBI censor the laptop and all this that we're discovering right now with this investigation. So all this that is happening is information that most of the time is not getting to the American people. If there's not communicators like me or like communicators that... And even if we try to tell the American people that this is really happening, they'll be like, oh, you liars. Or you cannot present this evidence. Or you don't know what you're talking about. And all these different things. And you say, are these people really, so controlled mentally? Don't they have the capability to do critical thinking? And then, for the worst part, they call us the cult. We are a cult behind Trump. That's the funny part. We are the cult. But you cannot make this shit up, man. Honestly, you can't. Let's continue.
All in the United States of America. This continued. And Senator Hawley asked the question, wrote it down, what is happening in this country? And I hope that MSNBC is still broadcasting this, because I'm sure their viewership hasn't heard this story that's gone on for 10 years. The truth is, they never forgave President Trump for coming down the escalator at all. They didn't like him. They didn't like the disruption. And they've spent the better part of a decade not just going after him, but demonizing half the country as fascists and Nazis and threats to democracy. And they have fueled this division in their inability to accept the fact that half of the country isn't deplorables, as Hillary Clinton called her, bitter clingers, as Barack Obama called them, or trash, as Joe Biden called them. That they rose up and they sat in their own jury box and they saw all this stuff play out over a decade and they rejected it. And now you have come in to clean that up, and you are doing a great job in doing that. And let me make this clear. There is a big difference between what happened under the Biden regime and the weaponization and then holding those people accountable. That is not weaponization. If that doesn't happen, this will happen all over again. So your job, as you talked about in your confirmation hearing, is so important that this never happens again. And holding people accountable who are part of this conspiracy is absolutely your job. And I'm also taking, you don't have to comment on this, your unwillingness to answer questions that have come up. I am led to believe, as a former attorney general, that that might mean there's an ongoing investigation. You don't have to talk about it. The statute of limitations may have run on some of this stuff, but not on a conspiracy. And if you're a co-conspirator in mile marker 1, even if you want to get on the exit ramp in mile marker 5, you are liable for the conspiracy in mile marker 10. And we are at mile marker 10. And I will also say what's happening in this country. What's happening with the assault on ICE officers is truly shocking. Deportations are nothing new. Bill Clinton deported 12 million people. 12 million people. You didn't see this.
And I have to interject here again because it's the demonies, like how that demonize what is happening. Is Trump the racist demonizing the deportations, and that's what they do. And the media is so complicit in this, and very soon I'm going to talk about that in another video, how complicit the media is in what's happening. But the issue is that when Obama did it, when Clinton did it, it was okay, no problem. But when Trump does it, it's racist. He's doing it wrong. And that's the demonization of what is happening. They demonizing something that has been done here so many times by so many presidents, but now they're demonizing it, so it's easier to control the minds of people. Oh, he's deporting Americans, Puerto Ricans, and all these different lies that it's not even true. And that's the problem, right? Because someone says it online, and they, those videos are easy to share. I'm telling you, one of these days I'm going to make an exaggeration video, and those are going to be the video that I think I'm going to go over millions of views, probably because that's what people like to share the most. But anyway, let's continue with the video.
What's happening with the assault on ICE officers is truly shocking. Deportations are nothing new. Bill Clinton deported 12 million people. 12 million people. You didn't see this. The radicalization that's happened on the left that plays out with political violence is real. And by the way, let me also point out that if we had a scenario where John Thune was on the Supreme Court steps saying, "You've reaped a whirlwind, Supreme Court justices," and then a right-wing assassin tried to kill Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and then a Republican-appointed judge only gave that person 8 years, there would be riots on the streets. Cities would be burning right now.
Exactly my point. So like I said, this is a cleanup. This is nothing to do with revenge. The weaponization of our government system was done. And as a matter of fact, this goes in a segue to my next conversation about this new concept that they have about Trump being a pedophile. Because Trump is in the Epstein files. And consequently, that's why Trump and his administration don't want to release the Epstein files. This is so much of the left that any person with a little bit of critical thinking will understand the bullshit that is behind this, but I guess I have to explain it, and I guess I have to decode it. So let's go ahead and decode it. Okay, we just saw a history explaining to us, right, that they tried since 2015 to stop Trump at any way that they can. They try to take him out of the ballot boxes. They try to accuse him in New York. They did civil courts against him, that anyone could win a civil court, but whatever. Civil courts, they did criminal cases. They have all these 34 cases. That's going to fall down, by the way, very soon. They have all these different things, right? They tried everything in the book. They threw everything, and they try to continue to throw anything that they could find to try to stop Trump. So here's my critical thinking for the left that is still so idiotic, stupid, that doesn't comprehend anything. People that keep repeating this stupidity. Do you have a little bit of brain cells left in that destroy completely blank brain, that if the FBI under the Biden administration had any information that linked Trump to Epstein, they wouldn't have used that to stop Trump. Any negative information that they had at that point, when the Biden administration was there, when we were talking about his son, when they tried to throw Jack Smith behind him, when they tried to accuse him in New York, they throw everything in the book to try to stop Trump. And you're telling me that the FBI had the most damaging information of Trump on their hands, that supposedly he was linked to one of the most prolific pedophiles, one of the biggest and biggest disgusting persons in the world, and they didn't use it to stop Trump? You have a little bit of brain cells left in your head. Think about everything that they threw at Trump. Everything that they threw at Trump. From New York accusations, from that woman saying that he touched her, he grabbed her, whatever. The January 6th, the insurrection thing. I could go on and on and on and on. And do you think that for 1 second, if they had anything that would link Trump to Epstein, they wouldn't have used that? Come on, guys. You gotta be so close-minded not to understand this basic concept. If I was doing what the Biden administration was doing, trying to stop Trump, and I had a piece of evidence that will stop it, I will say, hey guys, I got something here. What is it? Well, Trump is in this files, and it's weird because there was some pictures and there was some conversations, and we have all that. We even have witnesses saying that, this and that. And we could just filter that out there, leak it. How many times they leak information, lies? And you telling me that they had that on the FBI and they didn't use it to stop Trump? Now, after he won, now they're trying to say, whoa, he's trying to stop the information from going through. So here is what I think is happening behind the scenes, and this is only my opinion, and I want to just be very clear about this because this is important. I think that under the previous administration, a lot of the information was destroyed. And why I know that, and why I have that opinion, I should say. Where is the laptop information from Hunter's Biden? It disappeared. Information keeps disappearing that it should belong to the American people, that should be stored in FBI because the FBI should have all this information, and suddenly it's no longer there. Kash Patel cannot find the laptop. Nothing that it was related to the laptop. Why? That same way that things keep disappearing from the laptop and from other things, I'm pretty sure they disappear a lot of the information that was in their hands about the damaging, big names that were in that list and what was happening in the videos that they collected. Listen, they did a warrant on the New York house of this guy. In the island, they did another warrant. They had a lot of stuff collected. I guarantee you that. I guarantee you that. The problem is where's all that information? When Kash Patel and Pat Bundy came in, and Don Bongino, they cannot find this information. That's why they're telling you now there's nothing. There's nothing because they cannot come with something out of thin air, right? That's my opinion. My opinion is that they disappear a lot of this information the same way because they knew. Now, because they know that a lot of this information is no longer there, they're saying, why you don't release the information? Because they know it's not there. They're playing the game. That's the game that they play. It's the same way that they play the game with all the lies about Trump and Russia and the collusion and all this bullshit because they knew it was false. They created, they generated, but they played. They used something called circular reporting. And circular reporting is something that, who was the person who discussed about circular reporting? Let me see if I find that video because I love this video. This video is very interesting. I think I have it stored somewhere, and I want to try to bring that video into the show so you guys could see the video and see. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I have it. So let's go right and put this video, and let's listen what circular reporting is by no other than one of the main persons of the Democrat Party, not us, one of the main persons of the Democrat Party, because that's what they did with the Russian collusion and a lot of this information. So let's hear.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and if they see it's reported in the press that this, and this, so they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic, and it's self-evident. But I think I'm worth the trouble. So.
I think that's very clear. I don't think I have to add anything to that video, right? I think that video is self-evident, explicit, right? It explains self-explanatory, and we don't have to go into details about what the wrap-up smear is and who are the experts at that. Not you know, the case is closed. Nothing more to say. I don't need any more witnesses. I don't need no more information because I think it's clear. We've been through this. That's what they've been doing. So my point with that is the wrap-up smear is even you lie about something. So they knew that the Epstein information was there, that supposedly Trump was there, that they were supposedly having that Trump was a pedophile together with Epstein. Why they did not release that before the election? Come on. Some of those critical leftist thinking minds out there, give me a good explanation about that, because they released any stupid thing that they could, even lies about Trump. But they couldn't lie about this. They couldn't say anything about this because they knew that they were having to delete all that information that they had in their hands about all the raids that they did at Epstein before they could even go with this. Where's the laptop? Where's all the raid in the videos and all that stuff? Oh, everything has disappeared. Everything has disappeared. How interesting. How interesting. Well, people, I got another thing to discuss because I don't want to continue talking about this. Very briefly, I want to say that I think Trump even supported the Byron Donald nomination for Florida. I'm very excited about that. Byron Donald will be a great governor for the state of Florida, like I said before, and I will be behind and supporting him 100,000%, because I think it will be one of the best governors that we will have in Florida since forever. There's no no other boys behind this. So they did this round table at the White House talking about the violence and everything that's happening. And I mentioned before that I was going to bring a video talking about this and talking about how the press is at fault about a lot of these things. So I want to bring this video so you guys could let me see, so you guys could listen to this, because it's very important. I think this this girl was something Gomez, this lady. She's one of those persons that has been online reporting a lot of stuff for forever. So I want to put this video, and I want you to hear exactly what she says about what she has been gone through, trying to do reporting and her fears, etc. Here we go.
When I leave my house to go to work, I am violently assaulted. I've had guns pulled on me. I've been bear sprayed. I've been beaten down. I've been almost killed. So my question for all of you is, how would you feel if every time you showed up to work, masked militants tried to kill you? Because that's how we feel. That's our lived reality. And you guys go and tell us that we're liars, the riots aren't that bad, right? I've never seen any of you guys on the ground. In fact, I've never seen anybody representing the companies you work for on the ground. You guys come to us for interviews that never get published. Stop saying we're lying. We're not. We risk our lives every day to do the job that you guys are too afraid to do.
I think her name is, the other girl is Savannah Hernandez, and I think I have that video too that I wanted to put, because she talks specifically about the give me a second, the media and not covering, and this is one of the points that this guy tried to make right now, but I got the one from Savannah Hernandez. I think that's her name. Let me get that video too. Sorry I didn't have that one queued up. Here we go. Okay, so that's Q22. Remember, I do all my production here, so here we go. Let's listen to Savannah Hernandez and what she talks about and what she's been through and how the media is so complicit behind all this.
Incredible. The only question nobody can answer is why. Why are they doing this? They're like insurrectionists. They're terrible people. But you really wonder why. Why are they doing it? What are they gaining other than they're obviously paid? They're paid a lot of money. Go ahead, please.
Mr. President, if I can answer that question, the reason why they're doing it is because the same media that's sitting in this room with us has declared all of us at this table Nazis and fascists, and they've been doing this for years. This is why Antifa feels emboldened to attack us. Now, almost every single person at this table has been threatened with a steel bat. We've been assaulted, we've been harassed, we've been threatened, and that is in huge part due to the media. So my message right now is for you guys, because 2 years ago or back in 2020, by the way, I was censored for my reporting on Antifa here in Washington, D.C. You were talking about how safe it is now, Mr. President. It wasn't so safe back then. Back in 2020, I watched as a father was being mobbed and surrounded by Antifa members as his terrified, crying children looked on and the police here did nothing. I watched as a woman had her hair violently ripped out of her skull simply for waving an American flag on the streets of Washington, D.C. And by the way, if you guys try to go and find any of this footage, you won't find any of it because Twitter deleted all of it because our president shared my reporting and they deleted my entire account immediately after. So now, if you want to know what happened in 2020, all you're going to see is the media headlines that said that it was fiery but mostly peaceful. Thanks for that one, CNN. The reality is that it was an extremely violent period of time, and for the last 10 years, Antifa has been wreaking havoc on law-abiding and innocent American citizens, and it needs to end. Now, I'm with Turning Point USA. It's an honor to be here, Mr. President. Thank you guys so much, everybody in the administration, for giving us a seat at the table, because the media has not only been demonizing us for so long, but immediately after the brutal assassination of our founder, Charlie Kirk, our Turning Point USA chapters have seen an uptick in violence across the nation as Antifa chapters that are embedded in our universities go and target them. It's been extremely difficult to report on the ground, and for a long time I was afraid to go to Portland because I knew that the only people who would have my back, like Julio said, were one of my friends on the ground because there is no police force there. I was terrified to go because I knew if I got shot or stabbed, and I have been assaulted, I've been mobbed and robbed in Austin, Texas by Antifa, that nobody would come to help me. So my plea to the entire administration, especially to the DOJ, is every single radical left-winger who is in front of the ICE facility in Chicago, in New York, in Portland, please make sure that you use the full force of the law to come after each and every single one of them, because it is us being soft on left-wing violence that has fomented all of, the terror that we have seen in this country. And it is the left wing getting away time and time again with assaulting law-abiding American citizens that has led us to this place. So truly, to the Americans that I speak to on the ground, they feel completely abandoned by their state and local government. So please step in. You have Americans begging for the National Guard. And to the media over here, please report on the truth. Please do your jobs. I'm an American citizen. Everybody at this table simply views ourselves as American citizens who have an iPhone and the will to actually tell the truth. So please take your job seriously and tell the truth to the American people. And thank you for letting me be here on behalf of Charlie to continue his legacy of cleaning up the country. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Wow. And it's so true, right? That the media is so complicit. And I've been saying this since the beginning of this show, and we'll continue to say, because they keep lying. As a matter of fact, recently, what's her name from CNN? That crazy girl, Caitlin Collins, supposedly, and I want you to understand how they play this game, because this is the reason why I bring in this video. This is a segue to the end of the show, because we almost at the end of the hour. But I want you to hear to this video. So, you got Christine Noem going at what Caitlin Collins is saying about Portland and not having the supposedly no crime there, etc. So I want to tell you how they played this game in CNN, so you understand what they're saying and how they say it to play the game that they play. So, but first, let me put the video of Christine Noem ripping completely at Caitlin Collins because of her reporting on this situation. Let's listen to that first.
That CNN in the White House yesterday, Caitlin Collins goes viral saying, Portland's safe, Portland's beautiful, there's no crime in Portland. Your response to that?
Well, I disagree. We should have invited her to come along today. She would have been able to see the individuals that were getting off the streets and then talk with the law enforcement officers that are here every day doing God's work, making sure that America still continues to be the greatest country in the world.
Is that an open invitation to CNN to come along on the next one?
Absolutely. We will talk to her and see what we can do to convince her to come out in the real world, get out from behind the desk and actually walk in the shoes of our law enforcement. That would be fantastic. Maybe that's how we fix the fake news in this country.
Maybe that's the way we'll fix the fake news. I don't think that will be the way to fix the fake news, because honestly, there's no way to fix the fake news, because they do this on purpose. And I'm gonna close the show because I'm gonna want to explain this. I want to decode this so you guys understand clearly how they play this game. You see, Caitlin Collins didn't say that herself, and I'm gonna put that in quotes so you understand where I'm coming from. Caitlin Collins plays the game of she went to supposedly the mayor, or she went supposedly to the chief of police, or she went to some person, and then she asked them if there was, how's the crime in Portland and all that. And they were the ones that confirmed that there's no crime in Portland. So, it was not her who reported this. It was someone that said this. This is the game that they play. Well, we talked to they select this person, and we talked to X, and X told me that what you're saying is not true. So why do you keep repeating this lie that there's a lot of crime in Chicago, there's a lot of crime in Portland, and all this, because X said that that's not true. We're not saying that. CNN is not the one saying it or reporting it. It's X person that we interview. You see, that's the way that reporters like her and other reporters in CNN will come and say, well, we did not report that. We never said that there was no crime in Portland. Or you say, well, you did say that. No, we did not. We went to someone and we asked that person if there was a crime spree in Portland. And they said no, so we just reported what their answer, right? And that's the game that they play over and over and over. And to be honest, it's very, 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 very tricky what they do, right? Anyway, people, we have got to the top of the hour in the Decoder Show. We really appreciate all you guys contacted. We see a lot of people connected in all platforms, and we really, really appreciate that. We really appreciate the time that you dedicate to us, and we ask you, please, subscribe to Rumble. To our channel in Rumble is most important that you subscribe in Rumble. You're going to help us so much if you subscribe in Rumble and watch our show in Rumble. That's going to help us grow faster, to become a better show, to be able to provide more things to you guys. If you could go to rumble.com/The Decoder Show and look for us there and subscribe there and try to watch us there instead of Facebook, instead of YouTube. And you know, you can also do help us in X. Follow us on X. We are in X. We are in YouTube. We are about to open our TikTok to the Decoder Show. I think we haven't been able to do that. We do have the Instagram account already. You could look for us on Instagram, and you can follow us there too. But please, if you can, we really, 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 really would appreciate if you could support us on Rumble.com. That would be like the big act from us to you guys. We really appreciate the time that you gave us, the opportunity to be part of your night and day or afternoon whenever you see this repeated. Thank you so much, and I will see you on Friday, the 10th of October, on our next The Decoder Show, where we decode what is happening out there in politics and other conversation. Thank you so much, and have a good night.